Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast where we talk all things mindset, thinking better thoughts to get better results. I'm your co-host, Sean Foyer, here with the beautiful, amazing
Caitlin Foyer.
And today we're excited to welcome to the podcast an amazing guest. His remarkable entrepreneurial journey is nothing short of inspiring. In over a decade, he transformed a farm-to-table food service into a $87 million success story, culminating in a lucrative acquisition in 2022. Currently, he serves as Chief Capital Officer at Healthcare Integrated Technologies, a leader in AI-driven safety solutions. Additionally, Managing Partner at Kearns Capital and VP of Sales at Kearns Marketing. He's at the forefront of innovative investment strategies and digital brand marketing. Beyond his corporate roles, he's a savvy investor with a diverse portfolio spanning real estate and private equity. Notably, he's also assisting us in leveraging, taking our digital marketing efforts to the next level. In fact, that's how we met. So let's welcome to the podcast, Justin Freishtat. Welcome, man.
It's great to be here. What an intro. Thank you.
Yes, it's good to have you here. And we were starting, you're helping us with our digital marketing efforts. That's how we met. You had me from a list. You had outbound messages. It sounded intriguing to me. I responded, we got on a call, and we've been working with you now. I think it's coming on about a year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be close to a year.
Yeah.
If not already there. Yeah, time flies.
Well, it's so interesting. This is something that I have to speak to too. Is Justin? It's not about what you do. It's how you do it. It's how you present yourself. You're very magnetic. You're easy to talk to. Sean's a tough sell. I'll tell you that much. He really is a tough sell. And so when he was like, "Babe, we're doing this," I was like, "I trust you. Like I do trust him because it's rare that he goes all in on some, not just something, but someone." And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because I think you're wonderful. So
yeah, well, and I did. I mean, I have a lot of paradigms, and even in our target audience is home improvement contractors, and a lot of them have been burned by marketing companies. Everybody, I call it this, smoke and mirrors. Oh, we're going to generate you all these leads, and you're going to pay us this amount of money, and then it doesn't happen, and the answer you usually get is, well, keep spending money with me, and then eventually you'll get the results. And, I had a home improvement business for 20 years and experienced a lot of that. In my 5 years as a consultant, I've wasted money on things that didn't work. And, with you, it wasn't a large investment, but I did have that mental paradigm. But just the way you delivered the message, who you are, and Caitlin, she gave me a little resistance at first, actually. And I was like, no, just trust me on this. I think this is going to be good for our brand. And obviously, we've watched our Instagram following grow, engagement, views, everything's gone up just like you told me it would. So.
Our impact has reached audiences that we didn't know it could reach, honestly, before you. So that's why we do what we do, is for the impact, and you've really assisted in that so much.
Yeah, I want to touch on that for a second, because you can have the greatest product, you can be able to deliver your services, but the most important thing is getting someone to take a chance on you. And with all the skepticism, it's not just marketing. Every business is like that. Most experiences are bad. So you have to reverse engineer that process up front in the beginning and say, okay, well, how do I even get a shot at showing someone that I can do this? So what we did is we're like, all right, we know we're going to deliver. Let's take all the friction out of the equation. No contracts, month to month, cancel anytime. Make it so simple on the way in that someone almost has to take a chance, and then you deliver and you retain your clients. So that's from a very base level how different we are.
Well, for me too, I had a paradigm, a mental block of paying for views, paying for followers. And I'll never forget, you'll remember this. You said, Sean, unless you spit on that thing, you're never going to go viral with organic. And even this weekend, Justin, I don't know if you've seen this. I saw this thing going around, the most viewed TikTok with, I think, 3.6 billion views is a 10-second black screen. It's absolutely nothing. And that's got the most views. And it's like, I went straight to the comments because I'm like, this is going to be a shit show. And it literally is people like, I'm worth nothing. I share this valuable content and nobody watches it. And a black screen for 10 seconds got over 3 billion views. Like, that's the world we live in right now. So with you, it's like, how do we understand what's going on in the digital marketing space? How do we, whether it's a home improvement business owner, myself and Caitlin as speakers and coaches, how do we get the views? How do we get the traction to get our businesses and for us, our message to the next level. And that's where you have come in.
Well, and I want to hit too what you said is let's remove that friction, things like that. The way you set up your business is not from a scarcity mindset. And so many people set up their business from that scarcity mindset of we have to have this contract in place. We have to have this because they don't they might even fully believe in what they're doing, but there's still that scarcity paradigm with them of we have to have this locked in before we do business with someone. And you're like, no, no, no. Like what I do is amazing.
Well, and Justin, just so you know this about our business model, I don't have contracts, and
We don't either.
I've had people get on me that needs to be next. I'm like, I'm 5 years in. We've served hundreds, coming on thousands of people. I've given one refund and never had a dispute. It's like you. If I'm adding value to my clients, they're going to keep paying me. The second I stop adding value, stop paying me. And that's basically what you told me is, Sean, if it's not working, you can cancel. If it's working, we'll keep going. And so far, we're still going with you.
Yeah, it's very low risk to figure out if it works. And that's what actually makes somebody, that's half of a decision. A lot of times people would instead make it all this friction on the front end and then go read sales books to be better at closing. Like that's a horrible strategy. I want to be so good and make it so easy for people to buy that there is no conversation about the sale at the end.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing. I mean, we run several different group calls, right? We have masterminds, as we call them, and one of them is in-home sales professionals, and that is a great tool that we can share, like everything you just said, to those people of remove the resistance, remove the friction, show up as who you are, deliver what you say you're going to, and you're going to have success. There's no way you can't at that point.
Yeah, and on the back to that social media side of things, the algorithm is a fair and balanced, unbiased judge of how good your content is. And we're all business owners listening to this podcast. We are not full-time content creators.
No.
So you have to understand that you are competing against the best full-time content creators in the world for attention, and you are going to lose. I'm going to lose, right? So I'm in that same camp. So the awareness of how do I compete on this platform, knowing that I'm basically DOA with my content. It's an epidemic of people that are creating a ton of content with some marketing company that's like, we're going to give you this hook, you're going to go viral, it's this and that. And they always lose all their clients because it doesn't happen. So I think admitting the reality of the landscape and then saying, okay, well, how do we win anyways? And we're going to leverage this huge influencer network. They're going to push our content all over the place, whether it's good or not. Like that's essentially the basis of how our strategy started. Was how do we make business owners get the visibility, build a brand online that matches what they're doing in the real world? Because most of them are crushing it in their business, and their brand online is doing them a massive disservice. So we can fix that.
Absolutely. That's when my background is all in marketing and sales, and so that was the biggest thing I'm seeing with people, and it's funny because it's always changing too, right? Like that's the social media platforms are always changing, and so how do I have this great brand in person but not online where everything is switching to online and social media? Like how do we make that happen? And it has been a huge disconnect for us for so many years and for our business owners for so many years where you go to their website and you're like, who built this? This is the most basic thing in the world. Or you go to their social media and they have 2 posts and you're like, but I know how great of a company you are. Like what is happening?
Yeah. Justin, do you mind sharing, how did you get into digital marketing? Because you shared with me a little bit on our first call the story because you wanted to figure it out, right? Are you okay sharing kind of how you got into it?
Yeah, I mean, our first business was Heartland Foods. I mean, we were a door-to-door, sold organic food packages and appliances, freezers, cutlery, cookware, water systems, air purifiers, all kinds of stuff. So, over the years, I mean, when I first started, it was just knocking doors. It was offering free samples for their information. We could get survey lists. We had a call center. We were doing direct mail through the postal service to these targeted zip codes. So, I had a really good understanding of all the old school. I mean, we did TV, we did billboards, we did everything. So, and I had a really good understanding of like how much all this stuff costs and what the metrics are, like what return we need on the spend. And then, 2015 to 2018 was Facebook ads were cheap. We were crushing it doing that. And then that got really expensive. And then we ended up exiting that business and out of, the pandemic hit, our business tripled just out of just being lucky, right place, right time. We sold it to a private equity firm. It was a gift from God. And the tragedy of that is, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I have out of nowhere. So I'm looking at all these kids online that are 10 years younger than me. making millions of dollars on Instagram. And I'm like, I just got to figure this out. So I just started going to their boot camps, masterminds. And I'm like, there's really something to this personal brand. And I'm looking at guys like Grant Cardone, Brad Lee, like older than me, who didn't use that as the excuse to build their brand. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, now I have no excuse. I got to go all in on this thing. And the guys who are my partners now in the marketing business were the ones I hired to build my brand in 2021. So I was a customer before I was part of this business, and by building the following, partnering with celebrities, like we did one last week with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, what's the impact of your brand if Floyd Mayweather does a post for you and sends his millions of followers to your page? Like that's the kind of things we leverage to build a brand out of thin air quickly. And after doing that and then going to DMs to some of the biggest podcasts in the space, they answer, they see your big following, they want to bring you on. And that's where all the relationships that I've been able to build in the last 3-4 years that have led to over $10 million of revenue through my Instagram alone. Some of these big real estate projects that I'm on now, we're doing a $4 billion development in Chattanooga. I'm like, how did I end up here? I built a brand on Instagram in blind faith and started connecting with really high level people to monetize or moving those relationships from online to the real world. And then when you're networking in the real world and you show people your big brand, that gives you access too. Now they want you to speak on their stages. Now you're going on their podcast. And a lot of these shows cost 5, 10, 15 grand to go on. Well, when you have a big brand, they don't charge you. So it's also, the money you don't have to spend when you build a big brand.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And for like our audience, we're trying to go global, so we want to get out there. How can you, and if you can maybe share some strategies or ideas just for our listeners, they're in the home improvement space. Most of them are geographically, I'm a contractor in this part of Michigan, or I'm in Sarasota,
Yeah.
Florida. How can you assist guys like that if they're trying to, and I do think there's two conversations here because I've encouraged every one of my business owners, they need a personal brand. I mean, even if you have a home
Yes.
improvement company, a pest control company, you're a lawyer, I think you should be putting some effort into a personal brand because you can use that to change directions if you ever decide. But just for the company itself, if I've got, a home improvement company in a locale, how can the strategies you use help a company like that?
Yeah. So when you're going local, there's a lot of ways to do this. So let's say you're a golf instructor and you want to get, in-person golf lessons. You might think that that's not something you can do with social media. It's quite the opposite because we have a guy doing it. So, you build the brand, you put out great content, and then our managers will start doing the research of all the nicest country clubs in your vicinity and the people that are checking in there that are in those hashtags. And then we're sending them direct DMs from your brand. So you can definitely target, you can do it by zip code. We can mass DM follower lists. So if you've got a local page that's like, the handy whatever in your town, we can scrape that whole list and mass DM them. So there's a lot of ways to locally take market share and get the exact target you're trying to reach for 1/100th of what ad spend costs.
I love that.
And I've actually seen that work. There's actually a plastic surgeon here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And when he started out, he was busy, but not really busy. I mean, as you might not know this, Salt Lake City is one of the top markets for plastic surgery in the world. And so it's a heavily saturated market. There's one on every corner. But this guy started doing social media and became famous on Instagram and TikTok. And now he has a 4-year waiting list. Is he the best in the world? No. Is he the best in Salt Lake? Honestly, probably not. But
He's
his
the best
brand,
marketer, yeah.
he's the best marketer, and that has worked for him. And there are people that come from all over to see him, or are locally. I mean, I have a friend who's waited for 2 years, and she's like, I don't have a surgery date yet, but I can't wait till I do. And I'm like, holy cow, that's just
That's a
from social
following. That's
media.
a following,
That's
yeah.
a brand. That's social
Well, there's a
media.
quote on this, and it's one of my favorite quotes, and it's best known beats best every time.
It does.
So if you are the best and you become the best known, that's the recipe.
That is.
Yeah. All right. So Justin, I love everything we're talking about. And for me, as a speaker coach, I see being the personal brand. I see what we're doing here. I know a lot of my home improvement contractors I work with, one, they don't necessarily want to be the face of their business. A lot of them want to hide behind the scenes. And two, just trying to get their business out there without them being the face. How would you speak to them? And I know there is a transition and you work with a lot of business owners that have this paradigm going in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, if you have a business page and it's the business logo and there's no human element to it, I personally don't want to work with that because I know it doesn't work. It just doesn't. People do business with people. Look at all the biggest brands and then go look at their business pages. I'm not saying don't have a business page. I have one for every business so people can reference it. You can put different links there. You can collab the content, but people aren't going to follow it. They're going to follow the individual behind it. So you have to accept that. And I think for most people, it's a lot less stressful than you think. You don't have to be great on camera. You don't have to be polished. My advice for everybody that's nervous about the content coming in is I tell them, look, you can come out here, I'll do it with you, or just go to a local podcast studio, rent an hour of studio time, have a list of questions, go podcast style. So you're not even looking in the camera. You're having a conversation. You're being interviewed, which elevates your status in your content. And you can mess up as much as you want. You can take that hour and screw up and restart. You send it off to us. Our professional editors are going to make you look like the most polished professional presenter in the world. So it's okay. Just show up and go through it. And you don't need to be that great. Now, doing things live, totally different discussion, but you can build a great brand and not be great on camera.
Yes. And I do love, and Justin, it's funny. It was probably 25 years ago. I was still doing yellow page advertising, and I had a really good yellow page rep who said, put your face in the yellow page, right? And we literally had a discussion. My dad had resistance to it. He was camera shy. But the example used was real estate agents. You don't ever see a real estate agent without their picture, at least not the good ones. They all want to, this is who I'm working with. And for every business, home improvement, any space you go into, and we started using a picture of me, my dad, and his partner who looked like my grandpa, and my son. And it was the family business. And we used that, and I've literally got what was a friendly competitor of mine to this day, RGS Exteriors here in Salt Lake, they still use a family picture. And so listeners, if you are resistant, I mean, this is a basic marketing principle, I think, is you have to, the human touch. I mean, the world craves authenticity, vulnerability, and they want to see who's behind this, especially in our space, home improvement. I'm literally going on the internet and I'm inviting a stranger to my home to sell me something. I should have an idea of who I'm inviting out. And so I think, if that's the first hurdle is get your face in some of your ads. And the second is do what Justin said, practice, become a guest on a podcast somewhere in our space. Rent a studio like you talked about. So love this. I think this is valuable. And listeners, I know some of you are having some resistance right now. You might even want to turn this off. I don't want to do that. Do it. That's where the growth is leaning into something that feels uncomfortable because there's proven track records, even of the clients we work with. When you start being the face and showing it, you're going to see growth in your business.
Well, think of the Herberts, like Jason and Hayla. They are two very good-looking people. They live in a very small town called Saginaw, Michigan. That's a small town. And since they started really putting themselves out there as the face of their business, it gives people a sense of reassurance, a way to trust that, right? Like, oh, I've seen them around. Okay, this is who they are. I feel comfortable working with them. I feel comfortable inviting them into my home. I trust them to do the work that I need to have done. It's proven because you're right. People don't do business with business. They do business with people. Yeah.
We're in the people business. Whatever business you're in the people business.
This can help you too. This really helped me get over it when someone told me this and then it totally clicked. If you won't go on camera, if you're worried about what other people think about you, you've got an ego problem. Because the reality is nobody cares, what you think. They're not thinking about you all day. So for you to be in that mindset, it's an internal ego issue you have that you need to kill. You're not that important. None of us are.
Yes, and Justin, I love that because whoever's watching you is watching you, thinking about them. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about, oh, do I trust this guy in my house? Oh, could this be a good? I mean, it is. It's all what's in it for me. And that if you take that mindset into anything that you're doing, putting your face out there, it's not about you. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, unfortunately for us, I mean, a lot of, and again, I know you're newer to our business, Inner Blueprint is our mindset program that we take people through in group settings. And a lot of it is working on the ego, the self-image, what we think, and really getting out of that. So I love that you brought that up. So Justin, we're all about mindset. In your view, how does mindset come into play in marketing?
I feel like mindset is everything on the way to anything.
We're in agreement there, yes.
But I mean, in the marketing sense, it's the microwave mentality. Anybody who comes into it that says, I want to test you for 30 days, see how it goes, and then decide. It's like, all right, well, I already know you failed because, I had to do it for 8 months until I got the first customer. I didn't put an expiration date on my success. So I think on the way in, you should be in the mindset of, okay, we're going to try it. If it's not working, what do we tweak? How do we fix it? But we don't just give up and say like, we're going to try something for 30 days. That's with marketing. It's with, am I in the right business? It's with, have I made enough calls? It's with everything. I see people quitting too early, and that's the number one reason why nothing works.
Oh, I love that. In fact, I don't know when it'll drop. We just did an episode on our company's core values, just sharing them with our listener, and one of them is all in. And I think that's a mindset in your business. Are you all in your marketing? And if you're going to try something new, and with you, you take the resistance away, right? They can cancel, but you're going to have to give it a little bit of time. You're going to have to go all in with the message, all in with whatever platform you're going, and give it some time. You know, we live in a world of instant gratification. I wish everything was like that. I wish everything in my life worked like Amazon. I could push the click button and know it's going to show up. But, you know, for us on the mindset, if you've got a big goal, it might take you years to get there. It's not about, you know, the destination. It's about the journey along there, and being all in is a core principle we teach. So I love that.
Yeah, and you got to look at the metrics too, right? So like, I'll just take realtors because we deal with more realtors than any other person trying to make Instagram work. You need to sell one house a year to make money and cover all the costs of working with us. So give it a year. Like, you know, and the thing about everything is it compounds. The amount of people that are buying something from me today that I DM'd 2 years ago, it's the inputs, and those inputs stack. So you have to give everything some time to hit a critical mass, because it's not just that one sale, it's the referrals from that one. And then it's the cascade of your pig-headed discipline and effort and never giving up. It will work.
Yes. Well, and again, mindset principle, we call the law of compensation. You're planting seeds. In sales, you're always planting seeds. You're always putting it out there, whether it be in marketing or actually sales calls that you're doing, planting seeds and planting seeds. You know, for us right now, we're putting a focus on Instagram, and that's where we've got you helping us. What other platforms for our home improvement contractors are you seeing value in for people right now?
I think the best platform is the one that you can go all in on. And that's different for every person. I don't think it really matters what you do. You know, a lot of people are like, well, the business people are on LinkedIn, the kids are on TikTok. It's like, nah, everybody's everywhere. So you need to go where you are most comfortable, where you want to dominate. And then if you really want to do it the right way, you're on all of them. You're omnipresent on everything. But
Yes.
I'd rather see somebody go all in on one, concentrate there, and build. Like if you go to my TikTok, there's like 400 people following me. I just don't do it. I don't care. I'm so focused on Instagram. That's all I need.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fair enough.
It is, and it's true though. But that's such a great thing too. Is what you believe will work will work. What you go all in on will work. I mean, we have clients that go all in on different platforms or different things, and it works for them. And then the other people in their masterminds are like, well, I want to try that too because it's working for them, but they don't believe that it's going to. So then it doesn't. They're like, I tried it, it doesn't work, right? But you're
Yeah.
right. It has to be. You have to have full belief. Go all in on at least that one thing to really see a difference. I mean, the Urbans, for example,
Mm-hmm.
they go all in on TikTok, and it is amazing. Their TikTok following is great. The content they put out is great. They've made a name for themselves with it, with clients that they probably never thought that they would get, or from that they are, because it's building their brand, it's building who they are, it's putting a face behind the business, and it's creating that familiarity of that trust of like, I know this person, even though I don't know them, I feel like I know them because of their brand and their presence.
I will say this though, it's also about what are you going to be your creative avenues. So if you're going to do a podcast, you should probably have a YouTube for the long form. You know, like it wouldn't make a lot of sense to go post that as posts on Instagram and not do the YouTube.
Oh, totally.
So it's also figuring out what type of media am I going to create, and where would that best be served?
Yeah, and just for listeners, are you mainly focused on Instagram, or do you do things on YouTube? Do you do anything on Facebook right now for your clients?
I don't. I did
Okay.
Facebook for a long time for the first business, and then I went all in on Instagram, and that's just where I've stayed because it's just I have a system that works for me. I know I could get bigger and do more if I branched out to the other platforms, but a big part of my strategy is not having a podcast, and I think this is a mistake a lot of people make. I don't think it's bad to have a podcast, but I think it's better to be a guest on podcasts that have been running for years, that have big audiences, and be able to leverage that connection and that following, collaborate content with other big brands, and try to build your own. So if you're going to have your own podcast, don't think that that's going to have the same impact as guesting. You would need to do both.
Right, right. And we've talked about it. Do you have any thoughts on Facebook? Because I know in the home improvement space, and like you had a lot of success with Facebook. So did a lot of my clients. That's been changing and is continuing to change the last couple of years. Any thoughts that you have on that?
Yeah, I think Facebook's great, especially if you have a geographical business or a B2C type business to consumers. That was huge for us. We created a group called the Heartland Foodies, and every customer, client, lead, everybody's getting invited to this free group. I'm putting in recipes. We're doing content videos about the farms, the supply chains. We're keeping our customer base engaged. The amount of referrals we would pull out of that Facebook group fueled the company. I got to a point where I didn't need to advertise anymore because the Facebook page and the social media had generated so much referral business.
Did you work with somebody? Because it's interesting. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the solar cheat code?
No.
There's a program. One of my clients got involved, and it was basically they created a community page that had a bunch of community messages, and then it would drop information about solar rebates and stuff. And they used it as a farm for leads in their community. And I do think that's still an effective strategy. I haven't been able to find anybody for the space. So if you know of anybody or have a referral come up, let me know, because I think for a lot of our contractors, Facebook is still a viable source, but it's like you say, how are you using it?
Yeah, and I'm not a pay me for coaching. I'm a coach you for free for and deliver services, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to build a Facebook page, no one taught me how to do it. I just did it and created the content and let the metrics and the analytics give me guidance and adjust. I think people are they're looking at, does it work or does it not work, instead of taking the feedback to adjust until it works. So you know there's a lot of authenticity that has to be there between you and the people that follow you. So for me to tell you this is how you make your content or this is how you should do your page, I think that's not the right way to approach it. Go be yourself with your people.
Yes. Yes. I think a lot of times, and especially for the home improvement contractors, is they're busy running the business, and this is just one segment of it. And it is sometimes hard to find good professionals to work with, or even in house to get the right people. But I do like the
Somebody
mindset.
in the business has to own it, and it doesn't have to be the owner.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't, like, my dad was the owner technically, right? And I'm running the sales side. He's like, you're going to be the face of the company. So all the media on our websites, any TV appearance, I did all that. I ran the Facebook page. I made all the content. It might be your top sales guy who's better to do it than you, but somebody's got to talk to your people on a daily basis and stay front of mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's a
I
really
like
good
that.
tip for people because yeah, we do have some owners that are like, I'm too busy like doing other things like, and I have a marketing department that should be handling all of this. Why are they not? And it is interesting, but you're right. It doesn't have to be the owner. It can be someone that you trust in your business to be that face of your business, as long as they're willing to put forth the effort to be the face of your business, not just try to like, this is our business, this is our logo.
Yeah, for the service business people, I think that, like, we really overthink this stuff. Like, your best technicians in the field, just send somebody out with an iPhone to just film them for a day and explaining how they're diagnosing something, like, let people see it in the Facebook group. Upload raw videos. It doesn't need to be clean and edited. I think for the Facebook community, it's just raw and just showing the truth of who you are. Let them get to know other people in your business.
Yeah, it's so true because so many times we think this, and this is regardless of what industry you're in, what business you're in, because you're an expert in what you do, you talk to other people as if they are too. Like, even as salespeople, they do that. You come in and we get a bidding for exterior on our home, right?
Yeah.
And they're dropping terms that I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if I could see maybe beforehand or after they leave a video of them of someone doing what they said they want to do to our house, then it makes me more comfortable. It makes me understand, like, oh, that's what they were talking about. That makes sense because I personally, even though we're in the home contracting space, I don't know the first thing about roofs. I don't. And so
Right.
people will say things and I'm like, what does that mean? And then it's through those educational videos where people are walking you through what the process is or what this is or this is what hail damage looks like, that I'm like, do I have that? That makes sense. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. We don't know. And so it's funny. It's taking it back. And this is something that I would teach people in different industries. You have to talk to your customer as if they're at a fourth or fifth grade level in that particular area, because most people are. We don't know what we don't know. Just because you know it doesn't mean I know it.
Right. Right. when we're aware of that, when we talk about mindset, we always try and define the terms we're using because I don't want to talk over. But, and again, Justin, you hit another one of our core values, authentic. And I think, we are authentic. We try and show up who we are. And when you talk about videos, I think so many people have that mindset that has to be perfect. And like you said, get a guy on a job site. This is who's going to be at your house talking a little bit. And obviously, some guys are going to be more open. I know we've got a roofer we work with, Madsen, and he does a lot of videos
Yep.
of him doing roof inspections. And again, what does your audience want to hear? How can you deliver it in an authentic, unfiltered format that'll give them information? And again, I think that's how you do build the engagement like you're talking about.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do in any sales process or any interaction with a customer is what are the biggest objections that are going to come up? Bring them up on your terms so you can frame them, solve them, and educate from a point of whether you work with me or not. Here's what you should be looking for, right? Like the industry problems, educate them. Be like, a lot of companies would do this. This is what we do. Show them how you're different.
Yeah. No, I love that. And Justin, you don't know this. I mean, the sales process, I used it in my company, and then I was a trainer for an organization, but it was a 10-step in-home selling process. And it was based on post-negative suggestion, which that means pull out the objection and handle it before it becomes an objection. And not to turn this into a podcast episode, but it really is. Most reps, when they go through a whole sales process, don't cover the objections, give the price, and now when you're handling objections, it's over. Game is over. Now you sound like a salesperson. And I do think this starts in the marketing. How can we start bringing up some of the things for awareness for the consumer in the advertising phase, so when they get us to the sales phase, they're already aware of some of the things that we're going to bring up that are different than our competition is going to talk about. And that is, I think, up-leveling every step of your message.
Yeah, like when I'm raising capital for deals, the first reel that's pinned at the top of my page is how do I protect investors? Not about selling my deal. It's about how do I protect an investor? Because that's really what they're concerned with on the way in, is not how much money you're going to make them, but can I even trust you to give you my money?
Yes, and how much could I lose? That's the top of mind awareness, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. Starts in the marketing.
Love it. Love it. Any other, and thank you, Justin, for being on. Really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more, getting some of the tidbits from you. If you're speaking to our audience, about mindset, about marketing, what tidbits can you leave? I mean, I know one thing is people get stuck doing things because it's working for too long. And so maybe any thoughts on change and embracing change, and then what they can do right now to help with their digital presence.
Yeah, that's kind of like how nothing's ever as great as it seems, nothing's ever as bad as it seems. So having emotional regulation when something is crushing it in marketing, just understand that that expiration date is coming. I have never had something that crushed it in marketing that lasted forever. If it lasts for a year, that's amazing. So just always be thinking about the next thing and scanning the marketplace for information. You've got to be a deep thinker. And one of the things we were talking about before the show on the mindset piece is just stamina in one thing for a long time before you go branching out in multiple things. So I think that's the only way you're going to be able to pivot and figure out the next thing and of what's going to work. It's going to be hard no matter what, but if you are solely focused on one thing, absolutely obsessed with your business, you're going to figure that out faster than the rest of the marketplace. You're going to have a niche competitive advantage against everybody else. And you're going to build the capacity and efficiency that will allow you in the future to be able to handle more and then be able to do multiple things. So
well,
I just think
you're living proof of this, man. Maybe you can speak on that for a little bit, because you focused all in on that business, had a great, sell of it, but now you do a lot of different things. How do you maintain your focus?
Yeah, so coming out of doing a decade of one thing, I mean, door to door myself, before even building teams, I did 20 million in sales at an average ticket of 5 to 10 grand. Like that's
Insane.
a lot of doors, that's a lot of kitchens, So you just develop a capacity to work and just execute. So when at every incremental phase, you should be able to look at this year and say, wow, I can handle a whole lot more on my plate than I could last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, leaving that business, going into the next thing, it's almost like I can just plug in and out of all these things. But I also realize strategic advantage of great partners. I couldn't do what I did the first business. I was doing too much on my own. So now I learned how to come into senior levels to build what I am into other people, or sit on a board of a big companies. It's not a labor intensive thing, but everything you learn from a decade of doing something, you could add a little piece of value in 5 minutes that could change the trajectory of a business because of what you've learned. And
Yes.
I don't think there's any way to get there other than to actually go do it for a decade.
Yeah. I love that because a lot of our listeners you're speaking to, they've been in a business that they've built like you built yours. They started it, they've been in the trenches, and now they're getting to levels where they have some leadership teams, and it's time for them to let go and start letting the leaders step up and do their job. So love that. Love that. Anything else you have, Kate?
No, I really love that because I think a lot of times too, people think, and a lot of our clients too, if they didn't start the business, their parent did at some level, or their grandparent or something like that, right? So then they think, this is what I have to do the rest of my life, and this is all I can do. But when you like you show,
That was me though.
yeah,
That was me.
and so you thought that. So will you share your journey about how you've been able to not just be stuck in that, but be able to take that, make it work, and then make space to do so much more? Because like you said, we're all capable of doing so much more this year than we were last year. And that should be a trending thing where we are able to up our capacity and be able to follow maybe some of our dreams and wants. I mean, all of our people are shiny object people, right? As entrepreneurs, we're a high ADHD people. We're always looking for what's next. And then maybe at some level, we feel stuck doing what we're doing, and we're feeling like maybe we can't do more.
I love this topic because it's the dynamic I've been dissecting mentally the most out of anything. Because for me, it happened out of forced innovation. I would have done Heartland Foods forever without a pandemic. I would have done it forever. I would have never even thought about anything else. That was the family business. I was going to take it over, and that was going to be my life. And then you have this crazy pandemic. Everyone's flooded in the market for your service. You got a crazy valuation. And if private equity wants to buy you in a bubble, you got to like mentally part way with your baby and say, I'm never going to see a paycheck like this ever again. I got to take it. And then I was forced to go figure out the next thing. And what I've realized by going out there and doing that and meeting other people and taking that, everything I learned in that first business, I knew I wanted better margins. I wanted recurring revenue. I knew all the things I didn't want in the next thing. And it's hilarious, right? Because I would knock doors, to do $1 million in sales would take me 6 months when I was really good. After 5+ years of doing it, my next thing that I did, I was like, oh, I'm going to raise capital for hedge funds, where now it's not a $5,000 sale, it's a $100,000 minimum. I did $1 million in sales on one 15-minute Zoom meeting. It used to take me 6 months.
Yeah.
So I realized the power of the vehicle that you're in. And I think it's once you max something out, which I think you should, like become the absolute best at what you do. And then it's going to be the most difficult thing at the peak to say, I need to leave and go back to zero in a bigger pond and rebuild it again. That's the way you go to exponential levels, is if you can force yourself to innovate when you don't have to.
I love that. And you just shared an example. We talk all the time that life is happening for you, not to you, and the pandemic. And it's been quite a few of our guests. In fact, one we recorded today as well, the pandemic ended up happening for them to force change, to force some different things. And the fact that you've embraced it, that you've taken your life and your business to the level you have, is to be commended. I just want to thank you for getting on our podcast and sharing the message. Thank you for what you're doing for our Instagram following, and look forward to continue the conversations and the work together.
Yeah. How do people, so if someone wants to get into contact with you, what is the best way to reach out to you? Because I know listening to this, people are going to be like, I need to know more, or I want to do this for my business. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm so passionate about social media and Instagram, I deleted my website. So
Okay.
the only way to reach me is to send me a DM on your favorite social media.
Okay. And how do they find you on Instagram? Is it just your name?
Yep. There's only one of me in the world with this last name.
We have that in common. Do you know I'm the only Sean Foyer too? It's the thing about a unique last name. There's only one of us.
Yeah, it's a competitive advantage if people can figure out how to spell your name.
That's it.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thank you for listening. If you liked what we talked about today, hit up Justin, hit the subscribe button, share this message with anybody you know that would benefit. And as always, thanks for listening. Enjoy the ride. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.